Hey, so for me, Marineford Saga was the true embodiment of despair, like none other. And by the way, it is also my most favorite anime arc, if I'm being honest. And there is one specific reason for it. There is one thing that Marineford does better than any other arc or anime that I've ever seen. But to understand what it is, we'll need to start from the beginning. You might think that build-up to this arc starts when we learn that Ace is trying to catch Blackbeard, and it really starts when we learn that Ace was captured by the Marines and defeated by Blackbeard. But for me, it's not the case. For me, the build-up to this arc starts from episode 1, because for me, this arc is not about Ace. It's about Luffy. From episode 1, he was portrayed like a character who's practically unbeatable in both body and especially in spirit. He goes on and defeats every foe he faces, and even if he loses once, he still gets back up and still claims his victory. The most important point here is that his will never breaks. Like, from the looks of it, it's only getting stronger. And he goes on, island after island, makes name for himself, and in our heads, he builds himself up as a character that will always come out on top. You probably saw him and you didn't even think that something, someday, can actually change that. But this was done intentionally, just so that later the author can send everything crashing down. When this saga came, the whole mood is suddenly changed. It all starts in Sabaody when all of the Straw Hats pirates get scattered around the world, but for all Luffy knows, all of his crewmates might just be dead. For the first time ever, we see him in a state like this. This unwavering man is completely broken. You were probably watching this and thinking to yourself like, this is as low as he can go, right? But unfortunately for him, this was not the case. In Amazon Lily, he learns that Ace was captured, and of course he wants to go and save him, and that leads him to Impel Down, where it unfortunately gets only worse for him. Despite his best efforts, he's ultimately defeated by Warden Magellan, and it's not even a contest. And he's not just defeated, deadly poison is spreading through his body and he's on the brink of death. If not for Bon Clay, he would be dead. He drags Luffy with him and finds Ivankov that manages to cure Luffy, but it comes at a price. Luffy loses 10 years worth of his lifespan, and all of this just so that he can keep going. After he recovers and goes after Ace again, he learns that he was transported and he has no other choice but to go after him again. Now he goes on to Marineford, where our future king of the pirates will learn the true meaning of despair. He finally gets there, and his will is still intact, but he's close to his limit. He goes on to fight and realizes that he's completely outclassed. He's defeated time and time again, but he doesn't give up. And later, being the way he is, he actually manages to unite Whitebeard pirates. They start helping him, and it actually feels like he's doing something once again. He once again becomes the light that guides the others, even in a situation like this, where he himself is like basically powerless. And then after countless fights and trials, he manages to get to Ace and he frees him. I bet when we saw that we were all happy, but unfortunately Oda had other plans. Shortly after Ace is freed, he gets confronted by Akainu and he starts fighting him and he dies. He dies protecting Luffy, and the scene is pretty gruesome too, not in a regular One Piece fashion. Luffy couldn't believe this, and so did we. All of this was for nothing. All these losses, all this pain, and 10 years of life lost, and it still wasn't enough. And in the end of the day, Luffy was just not strong enough. He was not strong enough to protect his crew, he was not strong enough to get Ace out of Impel Down, and he was not strong enough to save him here. And now he's broken. If I tell you 200 episodes prior to this that he would be in a state like that, you probably wouldn't believe me, but here he is. The emotional damage is so severe he was literally about to die from it. And the despair didn't seem to end. When Luffy was already past his breaking point, Akainu was still going after him. Like, at that point I was watching it and thinking, like, bro, you already took enough from him. Just stop. He's spent. After the war, Luffy wakes up and he doesn't even seem to be himself anymore. When he remembers what happened, he first goes on a rampage and then says that since he was so weak, he couldn't even protect his brother and his friends, he will never become king of the pirates. His unwavering will was finally completely broken. Now, remember in the beginning I told you that there is one thing that makes Marineford stand out, that there is one thing that it does better than any other anime arc. Well, this is it. This is what it does best, because Marineford Saga is all about the Marineford Saga is the best representation of contrast in several areas, and the first is the main character. It breaks something that we thought was unbreakable, Luffy's will. He's portrayed to be the pinnacle of willpower and perseverance, and it felt like even if you throw everything at him, he will still find a way to come out on top. Always cheerful, always ready to go on another adventure, and always ready to protect his friends. And it really took a lot to break him, but it eventually worked, and we saw him in a way that we couldn't even imagine him ever. For me, it was also so shocking just because I feel like out of all the main characters with a similar archetype, meaning the one that is strong with a lot of willpower and always protects everybody and inspires others, Luffy feels like the ultimate embodiment of this archetype. He knows what he wants and he goes for it, as simple as that. And to see him break like this was just insane. And before the saga, we didn't even see him cry, really. I mean, cry like this. He was always strong, he almost never cried, and then we see two of his biggest mental breakdowns ever back to back. Everything up until this saga made us believe that this would never happen. The contrast was ridiculous. But the contrast is also present in overall story too. Like, the story is built in a way that makes you feel like the good ending is always the case. It might not be a smooth ride all the time, but in the end of the day, Straw Hats will come out on top and there will be a big party at the end. But this time there was no party, only pain. Usually when something like this happens in stories, the main character gets the opportunity to get his revenge, to resolve the conflict. Even if not right away, the conflict is solved later. The best example is probably Naruto and its pain arc. Spoilers for the next 10 seconds. Jiraiya's death was devastating. Yeah, I agree and I get that. But it felt like it had closure. It felt like justice was served. But here there was no justice. The only thing that Luffy could do is to accept his unbearable loss, accept that he's completely powerless, and move on. The only thing that made him try and go on was remembering that he still has his friends. So yeah, this is the greatest contrast that I've ever seen in a story. Before this, there was always hope, there was always a good ending, but there was no good ending here. No revenge, no justice. This arc was meant to be a lesson, to make sure that you would never forget what you were taught. Subscribe for more anime content, and see ya.